Good evening, Guardians! My name is the Black Link, and it is Thursday night once again. You know what that means? We're coming back at you with the Bungie Weekly Blog, This Week at Bungie, for the week of June 21st, 2018. And this one's going to be all about armor. Now, of course, we've got Iron Banner going on this week, and a faction rally surprisingly making its return next Tuesday on the 26th. But the major point of focus in this week's TWAB is the incoming exotic armor sandbox change that's scheduled for next month. So, in this week's TWAB, we get a neat preview of some of the armor changes coming in Update 1.2.3. Let's go ahead and dive on into it. First up are the armor changes coming for hunters, and we get a neat look at the changes coming to the Lucky Raspberry Exotic Hunter chest piece. Now, in the current game, this has the ability Probability Matrix, where it increases the chaining capabilities of arc bolt grenades and has a chance to recharge it each time it deals damage. And for the most part, that basic ability isn't changing. The Raspberry is gaining an increased chance to fully recharge your arc bolt grenade on arc bolt grenade hits, and it guarantees a recharge whenever you get a full chain that hits 4 targets. And with all of these changes, we get a little bit of an explanation for why Bungie's making these changes. For the Raspberry, they say that while just about everybody could appreciate the theoretically infinite grenades Lucky Raspberry could generate, its purely random nature made many people shy away from it. With this change, your input will now affect the outcome, so plan your throws accordingly. And overall, it's an interesting enough change. It's kind of subdued. It's not going to be super broken or anything in PvP, but increasing that chance to get a fully recharged grenade whenever you get an arc bolt hit, that's definitely going to be appreciated. But making it so that you're guaranteed to get a grenade back whenever you score a full chain of hitting 4 different targets, that's going to make this great for PvE. Whenever you're facing off against a wave of trash mobs like Thrall or Dregs, and you just toss a grenade out there and you get a 4-chain hit on all of them, boom, you're instantly going to get that grenade back. Not bad at all. Next up, we've got the Stompies, the Exotic Hunter Boots. The current ability for these are Hydraulic Boosters, which increases sprint speed and slide distance and improves your double jump. Pretty much the closest thing we've got in Destiny 2 right now to the Bones of Ao from Destiny 1. And here's what they're getting. Increased benefits when using strafe jump and triple jump. The usage rate of Stompies in the Crucible was fairly good, but since it mostly affected high jump, people were somewhat pigeonholed if they wanted to change up their air game, so the other double jump variants were tweaked to have more impact. So it's looking like the Stompies are going to grant you improved double jump when you're using stuff other than high jump. Possibly a bit more agility, a bit more speed, a bit more height on the jumps that you're taking. Just trying to keep up with that overall speedy nature of the exotic. After that, we've got the Young Amkara Spine. These come with the Wish Dragon Teeth perk, which currently increases trip mine, grenade duration, and marks enemies damaged by the blast. These are seeing quite the significant change, as they've completely removed the marking functionality entirely, but they've improved the trip mine grenade's blast radius and throw speed, and made it so your trip mine grenades are harder to destroy. Solar ability hits will now also grant some trip mine grenade energy. They state that the marking functionality, while useful in some circumstances such as in the Crucible, didn't have much merit in PvE, so they removed it to head off in a better direction. Now your trip mine grenades are punchier and you can get access to them faster. And I'm always a fan of that, getting your ability back faster, and they've bumped up the blast radius and throw speed of trip mine grenades, so they'll hopefully be a little bit more consistent in both PvE and PvP. Alright, that's it for the Hunter changes. On to the Titan armor. First up, we've got the ACD over 0 feedback fence. These exotic Titan gauntlets currently have Fury Conductors, where melee kills build up explosive energy within the gauntlets. Being struck by a melee attack unleashes this energy in a devastating explosion. And basically, Bungie's going to be simplifying this. The gauntlets now grant Fury Conductor stacks on melee hits instead of kills. And Fury Conductors will now grant stacking melee damage resistance. They say that the changes were mostly aimed at making Fury Conductors better in PvE encounters. While the feedback fence could protect you from hordes of Thrall by keeping them staggered, it just wasn't that much use against something like a Hive Knight wielding a sword. The changes also make this exotic better in the Crucible, but the solution of just shooting opponents still works. Now, I love this. I think the ACD feedback fences are a really fun exotic, especially for PvE, but it's kind of a trade situation. You have to take a lot of melee damage in order to build up the perk, and then take another melee hit in order to expel it, and it's great when that happens, but usually you're near death when it happens, and like another enemy, something usually a little bit meatier like an ogre or a knight will come up and just bop you straight up, meaning that it's kind of a zero-sum game. So I love that now as you're getting these Fury Conductor stacks, it gives you increasing melee damage resistance, so you're going to survive a couple more hits, allowing you to utilize this ability more often. Great change in my opinion. Next up, the Doomfang Pauldrons are seeing a change. These currently have the Horns of Doom ability, where Shield Bash melee kills recharge your shield throw, and melee ability kills recharge Sentinel Shield Super. When update 1.2.3 goes into effect, Void melee kills while wearing these gauntlets now grant more super energy, and shield throw hits will now extend the duration of your super. They say that Titans have a lot of exotics that help with punching things. To differentiate this one from the rest of the herd, we've increased the impact this exotic has on your super and how you use it. I love this. I love that basically you can extend your time in the super by doing the whole shield throw thing. There's an attunement tree on Dawnblade that I compare this to, where if you're landing hits with flaming swords, it extends your time in the super, and I love that we're going to be getting something for a class that's as mobile as the Sentinel Titan. Anything to give you more time as Captain America. Alright, finally for Titans, we've got the Dune Marchers. This exotic leg armor currently has the Linear Actuators perk, which increases your sprint speed, and sprinting builds up a static charge. After melee attacking an enemy, that charge will chain damage to nearby enemies. It's an interesting ability, but it's definitely one of the ones that needed some work when it came to building up that charge. Thankfully, they're directly addressing that. They've reduced the time to activate linear actuators while you're sprinting to 1.5 seconds. That's a huge change. It currently takes about 5 seconds for this perk to activate. They've also increased the damage of the chain lightning effect, 70% in PvP and 440% in PvE. They state that while the lightning effect of Doom Marchers was novel, the time needed to start it up and its fairly low impact led to many players simply seeing these as sprint pants. So we've made the lightning much more deadly and much more frequent. I love this. I love that they've cut down on the charge time for this. Now it's going to be about the same charge up speed as a shoulder charge or something like that. And they've supercharged the damage in both PvP and PvE. Going to be very interesting to see exactly how strong these things are when this update comes out. Alright, moving on to Warlocks. First up, we've got the Crown of Tempest. This exotic Warlock helm currently has conduction tines, where arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities. This ability basically allowed you to chain your super with grenades and melees to give you faster ability cooldowns. And with 1.2.3, they're going to be building off of that. They've collapsed the total number of stacks of conduction tines to 3 with the same overall total effect, and each stack of conduction tines lowers the upkeep cost of Stormtrance. And they go on to explain that Nezarec Sin and this exotic were quite similar, with Nezarec Sin working kind of the same way for void abilities, so they pushed harder on this exotic for Stormcallers who want to invest heavily in ability use. Warlocks also don't have many exotics that modify their supers, and not receiving the full benefit of conduction tines during Stormtrance was a little disheartening. So they've added a benefit during the super's duration to alleviate that. Basically, you're going to be getting your abilities back even faster when you're chaining stuff back and forth while wearing the Crown of Tempest. I'm okay with that. Alright, after that, we've got the Karnstein Armlets. These currently have the ability Vampire's Caress, where melee attacks grant increased resilience and mobility, and they highlight injured enemies. Melee kills also greatly restore your health. But for the change, they've removed the melee hit effects, which is the increased resilience, mobility, and target highlighting. Melee kills instead now instantly heal you, then grant continuous healing for 8 seconds. They say that in this iteration of Karnstein Armlets, they've simplified the exotic to be about death and healing. Previously, the effect was split between hits and kills, providing inconsistent experiences. While the effect is much more basic now, it should be more reliable and more effective in most situations. Now, I kind of both love and hate these changes. I enjoyed the extra resilience and mobility that the Karnstein Armlets were giving before, but now with you getting full instant heals every time you get a melee kill, this is going to make the Karnsteins fantastic for clearing trash mobs. And if it works like it kind of did before with Stormtrance, where every tick of Stormtrance damage counted as a melee hit, That could be great in particular for PvE ad clearing. I kind of wish they would undo the nerf to Karnsteins that caused them to work with Stormtrance Super before, where every tick of lightning counted as a melee hit. If they could revert that change so that Stormtrance kills count or activate the Karnstein ability, that could be an incredibly powerful combination. Could you just imagine that gap clearing? You got somebody far away, you move in on them, you get that Stormtrance kill, boom, instant health regen. That would be great. Or at least certainly I think so. But alright, moving on to the final change, we've got the Starfire Protocol. Currently, this exotic Warlock chest piece comes with the Fusion Harness perk, where fusion grenades have an additional energy charge and regenerate faster. Also, fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. It's an interesting combination of perks, but fusion grenades overall aren't that great in D2, so these definitely don't see a lot of usage. But when this update goes into effect, Empowering Rift weapon damage hits will now grant fusion grenade energy to at least 20%, so it sounds like you'll need to get at least 5 hits with a weapon while standing in an Empowering Rift, and you should get your fusion grenade back. I go on to say that much as with the Lunafaction boots, we felt like giving a bonus to players who decide to go on the offense with Empowering Rift, rather than playing it safe with the Healing Rift. Now, I could see this being super good if the weapon damage hit procs also count for your teammates. So if like your teammates are standing in a rift and they're getting hits, if that charges you up, this could be really powerful because you'll basically become an infinite catapult of fusion grenade tosses. But on its own, it's still going to be kind of a weird exotic, especially considering fusion nades don't really deal that much damage in Destiny 2. But alright, there we go, Guardians. That is it for the exotic armor sandbox change preview that we got in this week's TWAB. Then that's pretty much all of the big information covered in this week's issue of This Week at Bungie. Now just to go on and remind you, we've got faction rallies coming back next week. Oh man, I hope you got enough rest from the previous grind, because you're about to grind to 50 once again. But that's it for this one, Guardians. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to let us know how you feel about all of these incoming exotic armor changes down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest Destiny 2 news that we're putting out. But alright, I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.